Hey everyone. So around now, 5 years ago, is when I first twigged for real, having gone down the internet rabbit hole, that Scientology was not everything that it claimed to be. Now I had of course already realized a lot of that, but this was the point where I was sort of my breaking point. The point where I realized that it was a scam, a con, and that I had been taken advantage of. And a number of things had led up to that. I've detailed them in many places a few times on my channel and in speaking engagements that I've done. It was a long path to getting to the point where I could acknowledge that I had been part of something that was not everything that it claimed to be. And it just hit me today that while I was contemplating what, I was actually working on a video for the channel here for today, and then I realized, wait a minute, it's a 5-year anniversary. Well, I should talk about this, and it really got me thinking about how much things have changed over all those years. And another thing that also happened today that made me want to do this video is I found all of the paperwork. I really don't have that much of it, but I found paperwork from that time period of knowledge reports and things that were written on me by Scientology, people in Scientology, to get me in trouble and show what was going on at that time. This was in early 2013, January, February, around that time forward. And I thought it might be a little amusing and interesting to some of you to walk through some of these knowledge reports, because I've talked about this point in time quite a bit, but I've never really gone over these knowledge reports and the path that led me to getting all the way out of Scientology. And mentally I'm talking about, because there was still months of trying to figure out what to do. I'll go over some of that here. When I left the Sea Org after 17 years of service in December 2012. That was my official, disembarking from the job of Scientology, working for it. And that had been, 25 years of work between working at the Church Scientology in Santa Barbara and then going and working in the Sea Org. So within a month of leaving the Sea Org, I had finally gotten a job in Twin Cities in Minnesota. And this was arranged by my then girlfriend, who I have detailed here before I had had an affair with. Not something I'm particularly proud of, that I had an extramarital affair. In hindsight, I wish I had maybe done things a little differently on that. But as I've also detailed at length, my marriage was tanked and completely over by the time that I started this affair. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of another, as far as how you want to look at it. I've come to peace with the decisions of my life and what happened with me and why I did what I did. Extramarital affairs are a big deal, and I would never do something like that again. I will certainly stress that. I don't have loosey-goosey ideas about that. I'm just talking about my particular situation at that particular time. Anyway, I wanted to get back to Twin Cities in order to be with this woman. Now, the woman who I had engaged in this affair with has since remarried herself, and she's doing fine, and I don't really know her anymore. I only found this out through a second, third person who told me about it. Her name was Nikki Walker, and she, at that time, was a case supervisor for the Twin Cities Org. I have no idea if she's still a staff member or what she's doing with her life. She was the daughter of Bob Walker and Jenny Walker. They were a couple of prominent Scientologists in the Twin Cities area, and I, was very serious about Nikki and about getting in touch with her, about being with her, and making my life move forward after having left the Sea Org. The LRH communicator, or the LC, or LRH com, or there's various names for this, in Twin Cities was somebody who was a Sea Org member, and she did not like that I had left the Sea Org when news got to Twin Cities about this. And she started writing knowledge reports about me, even I think before or just barely as I got back to Twin Cities. Now, I was no longer a Sea Org member, I was a public person now. And it was my job to get through my lower conditions, as they call it in Scientology, in order to make good as a former Sea Org member and make amends for having left the Sea Org and now not being a Scientologist in bad standing, but not exactly in good standing either. Ex-Sea Org members, this is a bit of a gray area. And as you'll see, it's more black than white in terms of the grayness, but Sea Org members who, especially the ones who just left, are generally regarded very, very poorly, very badly. And I, in my naivete, I was a very naive person. And looking back on some of the changes over the last 5 years, that was a real big one. So she wrote a knowledge report right away, 25 January 2013. And this knowledge report on ex-Sea Org Chris Shelton Chris Shelton was a missionaire in Twin Cities for a few years and was on the CMO establishment mission several months ago. Now, this was the mission that was opening up the Twin Cities Ideal Org. He has done recoveries in the field and for years and knows just about every Scientologist and staff member in the field, having personally recovered them or worked with them in some way. So, just proving what I've been saying all this time. He has since left Twin Cities and routed out of the Sea Org. That's what they call it when you leave, is you've routed out. About a month ago, I found out that my PES, this is the Public Executive Secretary, the person who's in charge of getting new people into the org, making new Scientologists. So she says, about a month ago, I found out that my PES was very BIs, very bad indicators. He was not in a good way. He was unhappy. As he saw a posting on Facebook about Chris leaving the Sea Org and how he was going to get up the bridge now or something to this effect. This created a bad effect and took quite some work from these people. There's so many Scientology acronyms in here. Anyway, from HCO and from this other person to handle his upset. Literally weeks of work. Yeah, this guy was very upset that I had left the Sea Org. Additionally, the director of processing saw the posting and was upset by this, as well as the director of introductory services, as well as Mercedes Austin, who was an OT committee member. Now, Mercedes couldn't have been too upset because she's the one who hired me when I moved that enabled me to move back to Twin Cities. But apparently, according to the LRH communicator, Mercedes was very upset. And the executive director mentioned that he emailed her asking if she had any questions. And she didn't want to hear any of my reasons and blah, blah, blah. And so I was then contacted by somebody in the Sea Org and told to take this post on Facebook down. Now, I want to first just point out that the big thing in Scientology is when in doubt, communicate. That is a mantra from L. Ron Hubbard. When in doubt, communicate. If you get into trouble through communication, the solution is more communication, not less. L. Ron Hubbard said many, many things about communication, and I learned them very early on as a Scientologist, and foolishly enough, I tried to apply those pieces of information, those mantras, about communication, because I thought that as an ex-Sea Org member, it was my task to be responsible for what I had done and to inform other people honestly and openly about what I was doing. That was the entire effort on my part. Apparently, that wasn't what other people wanted me to do. So, oh yes, and then the PES, this guy, his name was Mike, by the way. So Mike got a separate post from Chris personally to him in which he explained his reasons for leaving staff. Mike read this to me, and what he said in no way indicated wrongness on the part of the Sea Org. See, I'm trying to be a good chicken here. I'm trying to not blame the Sea Org for anything, but his personal reasons for leaving. I don't feel the staff need to know this, and as mentioned above, Mike was very upset about the whole thing. He now has the following people as friends on his Facebook page who are TC staff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all these people are listed out. Now, of course, what that means is that I sent them a friend request and they accepted it. But somehow that is a reason to write a knowledge report about me, because I am such an evil, horrible person, that 25 of the staff wanted to be friends with me on Facebook. And then there were also people in the field who accepted my friend request. Most of these are 12 other people that she's managed to track down or list out from my Facebook posting. And this is using his Sea Org comm lines, my communication lines, for personal reasons, which is not okay. All right, so, and then we have screenshots of some of my Facebook posts. Here's one that says, "Merry Christmas to all my friends, here and new and old. I'm very lucky to have so many good thoughts and feelings from all of you, and return the same to each of you in turn. May 2013 bring us all better fortunes and happiness than this last year." So that was a very ominous, dark posting on my part. Clearly evil. Clearly I must be destroyed for saying such things to Scientologists. And then, "Happy New Year to all my friends. Looks like it's going to be an amazing year. I know it will be for me. Good wishes to all." If only I knew when I posted that what a year 2013 was going to be for me. Then I posted at some point around this time here. Oh yeah, this is when I got my job in Twin Cities. I said, well, found out the job market's a little tougher than I thought it was going to be in Sacramento, but then an opportunity presented itself in Twin Cities and I jumped at it, so now I'm on my way there to start my new job this week at Mercury Mosaics, which is when I was working for Mercedes. Not only did I pull in a job, but with people I know and like, and in a totally great environment. Lots of things came together to make this happen, and thanks to everyone who contributed, and a major thanks to Mercedes for giving me this chance. Again, does this sound like ominous, horrible, black PR and awful things that I shouldn't be saying? All right. Well, anyway, that was my first knowledge report that I got in January, right as I was on my way to Twin Cities to start my new life as an ex-Sea Org member, still wanting to be a Scientologist. This is the welcome that I received. So you can see they really rolled out the red carpet for me. Following Camissa's, this knowledge report, by the way, from the LRH Communicator was from a woman named Camissa Marshall. I have no idea if she's still in the Sea Org or not. She has no presence on the internet that I can find, so I'm assuming that she is. Basically, when people join the Sea Org, they disappear. So I don't know what she's up to now, but I have another knowledge report from her senior, Camissa's senior at the level of the Sea Org where I used to work at West US. This is Weiss Wiegema writing a knowledge report on me. That I am being reported to ethics for using my Sea Org member comm lines. In other words, people I know. As an ex-Sea Org member, he is a distraction on the org's lines. The personnel procurement officer used her post time to find him a job. No, she didn't. This other person is trying to resolve getting him through his recommendations. Oh my God. My recommendations, of course, meaning the things I need to do to make amends to Scientology so that I can be a person in fully good standing. Apparently somebody in the org is trying to help me out, and that's a horrible thing. And I started to date the case supervisor. He hangs out with this person after her post time, and the parents of the case supervisor, this is Nikki we're talking about now, very upstat members are now querying why he can't come into the org. And so is the deputy DSA. They're wondering why I can't come into the Twin Cities org, because I was ordered at this point. This is the 30th of April, so almost exactly 5 years ago. I'm not allowed, I'm persona non grata. And she says, this is not okay, and he knows better. He should not have gone to Twin Cities. It is extremely out PR and gives the entire wrong message. So then here is my dismissal order. This is not my suppressive person declare. This is a dismissal order making it formal that I was dismissed from the Sea Org. And there's a bunch of lies in here about stuff which is all kind of interesting. Making it out to be why I'm a horrible, awful person, and I am not allowed to be in the org until I've handled my freeloader's debt. This is the money that you owe Scientology because I dared to leave staff in the Sea Org. It's kind of funny because I've actually got the invoices here. I thought you guys might be interested in this too. I left the Sea Org in good standing, right? Mind you, I did everything I was supposed to do, dotted my I's and crossed my T's, and yet I'm not allowed to go into the local church, and I'm being written up for making Facebook friends and trying to be good with people. And then in July, I finally got my freeloader bill, and I paid it all off, by the way. And the data series course was one of the courses I did, as we've been talking about in some of my recent videos, as well as a couple, the Dianetics book and lecture course, the Advanced Procedure and Axioms book and lecture course. So all these things added up to, let's see here, $4,362. That was my freeloader's bill. And I borrowed this money from Nikki's parents, and I paid this off in July. But getting back to this, this whole business of 5 years out, that was just kind of an interesting little walk down memory lane. But I made a couple notes about what my life has become, how it's changed, how different it is. 5 years it seems like a long time, you know. I was sitting in my room about 5 years ago today, going down the internet rabbit hole, reading OT3, watching South Park, finding out about L. Ron Hubbard's true college education or lack of, his true war record or lack of, his occult activities. That was all new and very interesting to me, and lots of other things. And my head was not in a really good place. I mean, I was getting it from the church. I was trying to establish my life and just be a good guy. And, you know, it was tumultuous is a good word for what I was experiencing. And I look back now at where my head was at then compared to where it is now. And I don't claim to, you know, be in any kind of state now where everything is just hunky-dory. You know, life is always a challenge. But it's interesting to me how anxious I used to be. Very worried all the time. I mean, because I thought I was going to get a knowledge report in the mail every day. I didn't know when the next one was going to come. I only read a couple of them to you. I got a lot. And also, though, coming out of Scientology, coming out of the Sea Org, I was very impulsive, and I had the attitude that quantity of work done was what mattered more than the quality of the work that I was doing. This was a big thing, and I was very pumped up on myself and my skill set and knowledge base and all the things that I thought I knew and all the awarenesses I thought that I had. It was kind of amusing actually to think back on some of that. I've become, because of getting out of Scientology and because of learning about critical thinking, I've become a lot more reflective and mindful of things. Again, you know, this is not like some sort of a black and white thing where I've reached some ultimate state. I'm just saying that compared to how I used to jump on people who would try to give me advice, and, you know, I don't need that. I don't need to be told that. You know, I know what I'm doing. You know, this kind of thing. Now I'm a lot less defensive than I used to be. I'm much more aware of the fact that there are a ton of things that I don't know and need to learn or want to learn. And it used to be that I had the attitude that I knew everything I needed to know. I knew everything that was important. I knew everything that mattered. I knew the secrets of life. I knew why people acted the way they did, right? These were all the things I thought that I understood when I was a Scientologist. There is a level of engagement I have now with the world at large that I really did miss out on. It was quite something. I've talked about being in a bubble world in Scientology, and it's funny when you sort of assess where you've gotten to, how much more involved I am. I mean, maybe a little bit too much. I know some people don't appreciate me always communicating all of my opinions about politics or certain things, but you know, whatever. It's funny how now that I've gotten, you know, my fingers and toes out into the big wide world and learned so much more about what goes on and how chaotic and crazy it is, how less ordered things seem to be, and yet how much more acceptable it has become to me to accept, to live that way, to have life be that way. As a Scientologist, there's a lot of rejection of chaos or disorder, and a sort of don't want to see that, don't want to become aware of that, don't want to know that. And so they sort of, you know, purposefully, willfully cloister themselves into the bubble world. They just don't want to look at those things, and I know I certainly didn't. As a result of that, there were a lot of illusions I had, and again, naivety as well. I don't know if I'm saying that word right, but about how things work, and that's kind of dissipating as the years go by here. So I think part of the point of this really was to look at you know, a 5-year mark here. I'm about to embark on a whole new beginning because I'm going to be getting married in a couple of weeks, and you know, obviously I'm very excited about that, and life is pretty busy right now because of it. But it also sort of forces you to, you know, look back on where you've been and where you're going. And these anniversaries, you know, these arbitrary assignments of time, 5 years, of 1 year, 10 years, you know, 20 years, whatever, are also nice, you know, milestones in our road through life. You know, and for me, it's been 5 years almost to the day now of realizing that, you know, of closing the door in a way on an older way of thinking and opening it up to a new way of thinking, a better, definitely better way of thinking. So it's, again, kind of amusing to see some of those Facebook posts from 2013, you know, New Year's 2012, wondering what was going to be ahead. I had a whole different idea of where my life was going then, and 2013 was a tumultuous year. But in the end, while I thought for a very long time that it was one of the worst years of my life, and in living through it, it certainly was. In reflection, it was actually one of the best, because it was the year of no longer living ignorantly. And while I can't claim to have climbed any tower of knowledge too far since then, at least I'm working on it now, and I know I am. And there's quite something to being aware of how far you have to go, and how much more there is to life to learn and know and grow into. So, you know, 5 years ago, I didn't think I had any growing to do, really. I didn't think I had any learning to do. So, you know, for me, that's progress. Thanks, everybody, for coming around and listening to this. I know I'm rambling a little bit in this video, but I hope that I've gotten across some of the change that's happened over these years, the fact that the change was positive change, net positive, despite all the negativity and the bad things I had to experience and go through in order to get to this place. And who knows, in 5 more years, who knows where I'll be and what I'll be saying then. But hopefully it will continue to be a better place for me and for everybody that I know and for the world at large. And if I can help make that so in any small way, then I think I will be doing something significant. So I'll talk to you guys again soon. Thanks for coming around. Bye-bye.